Saul Over Soon.
You're slipping Jimmy. Slipping Jimmy with a law degree is like a chimp with a machine gun.
Blow my magic flute.
Money is not beside the point. Money is the point.
That's what a Chicago sunroof is. Now you know.
Saul Over Soon.
It's a real thing. I didn't make it up.
Nobody wants to leave home.
Welcome to Saul Over Soon, a Better Call Saul podcast. I'm Jamie G, as greedy as I need to be, and I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills. And we're going to give you a quick fix of Better Call Saul by covering American Greed, James McGill. What's up, Mills? You still doing the Gordon Gekko thing?
In this economy, man, in a bear market during a recession with insane inflation, even if greed is still good, there's not much meat left on the proverbial bone at this point. So, yeah, I'm probably going to be here for a bit. I am Magnum Mills. Thank you for checking out Saul Over Soon. Please make sure you're already subscribed to the podcast. If not, please do so. We'd love for you to rate us, send us some feedback at sauloversoon@gmail.com. And we're from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show.
May it please the court. Do let the record show that Saul Over Soon is a full spoiler show. Anything from Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, and even El Camino is fair game here. If you haven't watched some of those things, go take care of that right now, then come back and check us out. Don't worry, we'll wait. And if you don't know, now you know. This is your first and final spoiler warning.
All right, like mystical, I'm going to show you what you're working with here. And this is American Greed, James McGill, originally released April 1st, 2022. We do not have a credited director on this. Valerie Chu is credited as a writer. She's had various writing credits on Saul in the past, most notably as a writing assistant and as Peter Gould's assistant. We get some familiar faces here. We see Peter DeSeth as DDA Bill Oakley. We see Julie Pearl as ADA Suzanne Erickson. We see Jeremy Shamos as Craig Kettleman, Julianne Emery as Betsy Kellerman, Dennis Boutsikaris as Richard Schweikart, and this is narrated by Stacy Keach. Short plot synopsis is, this mock episode, released on April Fool's Day, looked at the events surrounding the fictional Saul Goodman character as seen in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Thank you, sir. Let's just go ahead and give our initial thoughts on this. I thought this was like one of the coolest like hype videos I've ever watched. This was done in such a cool way with like a true crime. I thought I was watching an episode of 2020 here on Saul Goodman. I enjoyed it, and it kind of gets you hyped, and it was fun to kind of see all those characters come back and talk about it like it was, like I'm watching 2020.
They really did stick to the documentary format and whatnot. I enjoyed it right down to the visuals, just the camera work, everything like that. Like if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see behind me, like they have some court sketches from Saul. There's some cool illustrations, stuff like that in here. And I think they even released this originally on like the CNBC YouTube channel. So it was it basically fit right in, next to programming of this type. I think they did a good job with it, and it was definitely enjoyable. I would say maybe a little bit inconsequential. It's one of those things you kind of watch it, and I was really hoping maybe you get some more Easter eggs, and you do get some, don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's no Zapruder film here. I don't think you can rewind this part and see something that's going to influence one of your theories or something like that. I think it's pretty straightforward here, but again, it was certainly enjoyable. So I'd say if you enjoy Saul at all, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I would say, to me, I said it was one of the greatest, hype videos I've watched, but it was a glorified trailer. I mean, there was really nothing new to it. It was just a different way of kind of telling the story so far, and just kind of an overview of it. Nothing new. I didn't know what to expect with this. I didn't give myself any preconceived notions about what this would be. I just knew, hey, it's 10 minutes. It's Saul Goodman. I'm there for it. To your point, it's not, maybe it is inconsequential. There's nothing I know now after watching this than I knew through where the show is. So
maybe you find out a little bit more about what the ADA and the DDA actually think about Saul a little bit. But again, this is all after the fact, because the way they're referring to it is like this was filmed in theory after the events of Breaking Bad, because they talk about Heisenberg and everything. This is people reflecting. That's maybe the one thing is I believe that Schweikart does kind of refer to Kim in the same past tense as Jimmy, not necessarily dead, but just not around anymore. So I guess if there's anything, it's maybe that one little thing is like, no one really thought that Kim was just still in Albuquerque and just kind of nobody paid attention anymore. We all figured she at least either had to be out of the area or not living or incarcerated or something. Nothing really new, but that just does seem to back it up. She didn't just like marry some other dude and randomly just like still has a law practice in Albuquerque, and we just lived happily ever after or something.
You're right. He definitely did. That was a cool little drop there. And
yeah, you get a little picture of Kim and everything, and they do it a little bit mysterious like. So it definitely didn't do anything. If you were worried about Kim, it didn't do anything to make you feel better, put it that way.
no, it definitely did not. I do say I enjoyed the background music and the way they kind of, again, true to the documentary story. I thought that was fun. What's something maybe they could have added here? I mean, I would have liked to see, maybe a mention of Jesse. Maybe a mention of Gus Fring. I mean, they could have went more into the Breaking Bad sphere for me a little bit here, and gave us maybe a little bit more of theories on where local folklore think Jimmy McGill, Saul Goodman is.
It's probably one thing that I would have liked, but because this was released on April 1st, it didn't really work that way, was to maybe get some of Saul's clients from the season. Like we've seen him have some of those crazy clients, to actually maybe get like we get the Kellermans. That's really the only client interview. I think it would have been cool to, oh God, what was the one dude's name? Spooge. Like, where's the Spooge interview, man?
Yeah,
like,
Spooge.
So I'm here for the Spooge interview, at least bare minimum. Maybe getting the Francesca. We got a little stock footage, but getting her would have been nice. Maybe to get a little bit of kind of some, even after Breaking Bad type stuff. Maybe then it's not a lot, but maybe that could give you a little something to work towards the Gene timeline, something like that. Any other ads here? I've got one obvious one, but we'll circle back around to that one maybe.
For what they wanted to do and what they did with it with 10 minutes, it's fine. I mean, just more background story would have been great. Anything they wanted to do with it. If this would have been 20 minutes, I would have loved it. If it would have been 30, that's fine with me. I kind of just feel like more is what's missing here maybe. Let's just take a look at what they gave us here. What was your favorite part of this, Mills?
Oh, easy. I mean, yeah, maybe you could go with this. They get the nice little still photograph of Lalo and a little voiceover at the end, but it's got to be the Kellermans. That was just fun. Them doing their thing, being sleazy. Oh, Saul ripped us off. Like, yeah, bullshit.
Well, and the good cop, bad cop with the, you tell she wears the pants there because, he's like, kind of when you look at it that way, you kind of start to feel, it's like, we don't feel bad for him. No, it's just good acting on both parts. That was fun. For me, I love the caricature sketches and the little voiceover, like the thing where, where like, even by uncanny, not common characteristics. And you see Saul kind of in there and he's like, is that defendant right over there? Can you point to, who was the guilty party that you can identify? And he points at him. He's like,
yeah, he does a switcheroo.
Yeah, he does a switcheroo. He's like, my client was in the back of the courtroom. I love that little voiceover with the caricatures. And then of course the cartoon sketch with the giant Statue of Liberty on top of his office. Just that to me was like added the humor I wanted. I thought it was really cool. And whoever did the sketch work, man, if I'm ever stumbling around,
pay attention, because usually when shows like this end, they'll do a big auction. So you never know. Maybe you'll be able to make a bid on that someday. Who knows? I mean, I probably want is, even though it's bullet riddled, the world's second best lawyer mug. That'd be a fun one. I bet you that goes for like $5,000 or something stupid for a mug you can't even use.
Mills, one thing that struck me here was that it felt like this is the first part of something. Do you think we'll get a companion piece for this when Saul is over? Maybe like a wrap-up job?
I would hope so. I think that would make sense, especially if we get some closure in the Gene timeline, and then they kind of reflect, like, they used to do like updates on unsolved mysteries and stuff like that. They come back with a second part to talk about, like, oh, we caught up to Jimmy or to James McGill, and here's what went down at the fucking Cinnabon or whatever. But honestly, the second part we would really want to see is probably Lalo, right? The teases at the end here, little Lalo. I would love like a documentary type thing that dug into the Salamancas and everything. I think that would be cool as fuck. Either way, I would like there to be another one. In the way it kind of ended a little bit abruptly, it just really did feel like a part one to me.
Completely agree. And I would welcome a part two, kind of wrapping this up from this vantage point. It's cool how they did it here. You kind of hear the story, not through Saul, not through Kim, but through everyone else. And that's pretty fun, because we've been kind of watching the story, at least Better Call Saul through Saul. And so it's fun to see it from that other vantage point. Can I tell you one thing? And that is, dude, we needed way more Mike Ehrmantraut. I mean, way more. With no Mike here, Mills, I don't even think we could do Mike's Always Right. I mean, they need to remember that you can never have too much Mike. I mean, never doubt the Ehrmantraut. They doubted the Ehrmantraut. Mills, is this a half measure on their part?
This is very much a half measure. Mike himself, I'm sure even Jonathan Banks is just watching this with a frowny face on, like, just kind of like, annoyed grunt would be the closed captioning for that or something like that. Yes. If we're anything on Mike, I believe he did the Better Call Saul, the training videos before. That was kind of cool. I believe he showed up in those in season 2, I think that was. Yeah, anything we can get more Mike, that's great. And I know that he's already deceased in the timeline for this and whatnot, but I would love that you could make up, like, you do some old, like, archival footage or something, like, I don't know, make Jonathan Banks put on a bad wig and make him do an interview back to when he was a cop or something. I don't fucking know. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Maybe you get one into all the shit that went down in the Philly PD department or something like that. And...
Oh yeah, man. Or a little clip of that they have of him, on talking to Gus Fring or something as they're starting to close in on shit. Who knows? I mean, feds were starting to move in. Maybe they had some video footage or something. That would be cool too, just kind of during that storyline. But I'd be all there for when he broke bad with the Philly PD, man. That would be fun.
Yeah, now I'm just going way down the rabbit hole where, like, they get into, like, some wild conspiracy thing, and, like, Mike Ehrmantraut was, like, the dude on the fucking grassy knoll in the JFK shit or something like that. Like, a way down the rabbit hole with Mike. Pretty much put Mike in anything, I think is what we're saying. Just, there's a lot of things I wouldn't watch. You put Mike Ehrmantraut in it, I'm going to have to watch. I mean, people once upon a time, it's not that I dislike it, just I find it hard to watch the WNBA, but if you put Mike Ehrmantraut in a WNBA game, I'm watching.
Even as the official or as a coach would be hilarious.
He could be rapping with the cheerleaders. I don't care.
Yeah, just put him in there.
Mopping the floor like he just cleaning the sweat up. He would mop that floor better than it's ever been mopped in the history of mopping.
Hey, Millie, he likes it. We're talking about Mike. Guys, I think that wraps this up. Mills, what's on tap next for Saul Over Soon?
Oh, we got some fun stuff here, despite the fact that season 6, part 2 isn't going to start yet. We are going to still do a wrap-up pod for part 1 of season 6. We're also going to cover the Slip and Jimmy animated series. Another little short guy there. I believe it's 6 episodes, all like 9 to 11 minutes. So we'll probably just do one show covering those. Looks like that should be a good time. And then before it drops, we will be back to do a preview and predictions joint for season 6, part 2.
Thanks again for checking us out right here on the Saul Over Soon podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Please remember, like and subscribe on YouTube or rate and comment on your podcast app of your choosing. Helps us out a ton. And again, we really appreciate it. Mills, tell these fine people how much we really appreciate it and just where they can find all of our content.
Thank you again for checking out Saul Over Soon. You can find us on your favorite podcast app. It's Saul Over Soon. Same thing on social media. And again, please send your feedback to sauloversoon@gmail.com or from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show. We are just wrapping up our coverage of season 3 of Barry from HBO. We are the Barry Podcast on your favorite podcast app and Barry Podcast on social media. We continue to cover It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because why the fuck wouldn't we? We are the Night Pod Cometh. Find us on your favorite podcast app and social media at Night Pod Cometh. You're looking for something new to watch on Netflix? The 6th and final season of Peaky Blinders just dropped. We already covered it on PvP, a Peaky Blinders podcast. Find us by searching for PvP Peaky Blinders on your favorite podcast app and on social media at Peaky Podcast. And we did just wrap up another big Netflix show. That's Ozark. We are the Ozark Podcast, again on your favorite podcast joint and social media at Ozark Podcast. Thanks again for checking out Saul Over Soon. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. And remember, stop being greedy because you're in the game now. And
it's Saul Over Soon. We'll see you next time on the Saul Over Soon podcast.
This has been Saul Over Soon, a Better Call Saul podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way affiliated with Better Call Saul, AMC, Sony Pictures Television, Netflix, or any other production company or association. The views here are those of the hosts only and do not represent any other entity. Thanks again for checking us out, and stay tuned because it's Saul Over Soon.